And I tell you to break clean, watch yourself at all times, shake hands now, may the best man win. Good luck to both of you.
Round one, there's the bell. Speed called by very expert, the underground heavyweight champion.
Welcome into another episode of That's Boxing Podcast. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm great. How are you doing today, Dust?
It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's fall. It's officially fall. Football's back. We got to start a second podcast about all my crippling disappointments there.
Well, man, I don't watch football.
Well, you're going to have to get up to speed.
I ain't got time for football.
You're going to learn a real sport.
Hey, that's football.
That's football. It doesn't quite have the same
No.
ring to it. I got a critical question to ask you. You play video games?
Every now and then.
Yeah? Like you got a system at home?
Well, my kid, he's got a couple. So
like-
every now and then I'll steal his little Nintendo Switch and play some Tony Hawk Pro Skater or something
Okay.
like that.
All right.
Little flashback games.
Someone sent me, shout out Smuggle Audio Music Library, shot me this new PS5 game that's like called Undisputed. It's got Canelo on the cover. I was checking out some of the graphics and watching like Wilder KO Vladimir Klitschko. It looked pretty wild. It's like I'm low-key tempted to pick it up.
Yeah, we used to play a boxing game on Nintendo 64, I think.
Like Tyson's Punch Out or
No,
whatever?
that was older than that. I think it was like Fight Night, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
You could build a character and have a career.
Yeah.
But I haven't played a fighting game in forever. It's kind of weird mechanics, you know.
It's not the same. What it got me thinking of like watching it as like a Twitch stream type of thing was they should make one that has like an AI and then you don't even play a game. It's just like a simulator. So you put like fighters against each other. Like what would happen if this historical fighter fought this fighter? And it has like all these attributes built in and then it runs the regression or whatever.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Rocky Marciano fought Muhammad Ali. But not really. They used There was like when it was in 1960 something and the computer was like a big word and they used a computer to simulate the fight by inputting data on all their fights and all their moves. And the computer figured out Marciano would have won. So
let's do that. Let's create like a consumer product that does that and runs the thing, and then we can use it for all our bets.
Mm-hmm.
This is my retirement plan from now on.
You get on that spreadsheet, start typing.
Yeah, I'm gonna start putting it together. Well, let's get into a little recap here. Did you catch Inoue? Did you wake up at 2 a.m. to watch him fight?
Nah, man, I did not, and I definitely woke up, got my coffee on, opened my phone, and saw the finish. Mm-hmm. But you know, it wasn't an exciting enough matchup for me to hide the finish from myself. But I did sit down and watch the whole fight, and it was a real cautious matchup. Canelo,
Mini Canelo
on the brain. It's fight week. It's Mexican Independence time of day. So we're coming in here, we're watching Inoue, and he was real smart and cautious. It's his second southpaw in a row, and he went down hard in the first round against Neary off that sweeping left hand. So. And this guy, we brought this up last time we talked, this guy's got a powerful left hand, and he really loads it up and throws it. You know, I had predicted that Inoue was going to catch him with a hook because the dude drops his right hand when he throws his left, but that's not quite what happened. Did you see the whole thing in real time?
Yeah. Well, we got the call right, over 4.5 rounds, Inoue.
Of course.
It was so funny seeing, everybody calling like, oh, Inoue first round, he's going to run through this guy. I'm like, that's not really his MO, and as you said, specifically with the southpaw, and it doesn't really give credit to the opponent. Sometimes people are outclassed, but they're still amazing fighters. And, like, he's going to survive. He's a dangerous dude. He's got a lot of tools in his toolbox. So got the call right, kind of played out as we thought. But you didn't really get the finish wrong because there wasn't even really a finish.
Yeah,
right?
Interesting stoppage. It's, the back went out, but the back is attached to the front. It's all part of the same machine. So he took some violent body punches in there, and one of them must have rearranged his insides a little bit and knocked one of his floating ribs out or something.
Is that what you're thinking? It looked to me, like maybe a muscle strain or something like that. Just too much. Couldn't, once he pulled it and tweaked it, he knew he couldn't move around, and then that's kind of it. It was really anticlimactic.
Yeah, unfortunately it was. But the whole fight, I watched every moment of it, and there was some interesting moments, and man, that guy can really punch. Did you notice the size difference? Mm-hmm. Looking at the size of this guy in there. TJ, he must have been 20 pounds heavier in there. Yeah. He was massive.
Do you think does that make your mind think about Inoue moving up and how he'll fare in larger weight classes?
It reminds me of Lomachenko a little bit. Always fighting at a disadvantage of weight, and then taking risks and then eventually taking a loss because he's fighting these much bigger bodies at the elite level.
But the difference is Lomachenko feels like his power kind of faded. He lost it at a certain point. right? He's not stopping anybody at 135, or we're not really. I mean, he just did in his last fight, but it's more of a accumulation. And at the top guys, we're not looking for a Lomachenko stoppage of a Haney or a Tank. Whereas in a way, that still seems like his bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's certainly not big enough for those guys. I think he might top out at 130. And I don't think, he'll ever match up with any of these current American stars of the 35 and 40 division. It's just it seems like a whole different world to me.
Yeah, that's what I see too. So what's next for Inoue?
Goodman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they haven't announced that, right? It's just that kind of feels like the...
Yeah, that should be the move. And there's a couple of guys out there floating around that are dangerous. They just aren't names. But he's the A side. He doesn't really need a name to put on a show and please his fans and be a superstar. But do you say this next one's going to be in America?
That's what that's what Bob was saying. Bob, maybe it's just some magic fairy dust he's sprinkling out there. It doesn't his predictions don't always come true, but he's trying to bring Inoue to the States. I don't know if it makes sense, right? He's such a superstar over there. I mean, does he need to expand his market when you're making that much per fight? And he's been incredibly active. I mean, I think in a little over 12 months, he will have fought 4 times. It's pretty impressive. And the biggest fight to me seems like you do Goodman, and then you hang around for Nakatani to move up and fight him.
Yeah, and that's just a hometown showdown.
Yeah, and you're not going to do that fight in the States. That would be crazy.
No. Well, that'd be fantastic, man. How old is Inoue? Because, I mean, it seems like he might already be kind of running out of work to do.
That's a good question.
I think
he's 31.
31. Okay, well, that's fair then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people saying he's at the tail end of the peak. I don't know if that's 31. I think every body is different,
Well, the weight classes, typically we give a shorter lifespan to the lightweight fighters, lighter weight fighters. And heavyweights start later, go longer.
Right.
Lightweights burn faster, and they're done quicker.
Lose your speed and your twitch.
Yeah. But man, he's speedy and twitchy, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That guy sure can move.
Yeah. I mean, he's remains an exciting fighter, and I hope he stays in that weight class. I know he barely made this weight, and I hope he stays there long enough for the showdown with Nakatani. I think the only person I see really giving him that challenge is him. Such a rangy fighter, so strong. He could do it.
Southpaw, too.
Yeah, which Inoue struggled with. So it'll be interesting to see what he does next. Maybe we'll be flying out to the Tokyo Dome.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, we got some good fights coming up this weekend. Finally, boxing is back. Of course, Canelo and Berlanga, and we should get through that card and try to make some picks. Also, Eduardo Rocky Hernandez is fighting Thomas Matisse Friday night on DAZN. Hernandez is kind of known for being up on the scorecards against Oshaki Foster. Do you remember this fight? But he got dropped twice in the last round, and that swung the whole fight. But he was up going into that last round, so dude can fight.
Yeah, he'll put on a nice show. He's a nice fringe contender for sure.
Yeah, so that's a good fight. Free fight on DAZN Friday night. Now that you know you're a DAZN subscriber, accidental.
Whoops.
But the big fight, Canelo and Berlanga, PBC event on DAZN. Interesting card. Working backwards to this card. So on the prelims, I was really surprised to see Stephen Fulton's name. Are you offended for Fulton, as offended for Fulton as I am, that he's A, on the prelims, and B, fighting before Rolly Romero?
Is that how they have him listed?
Yeah. He's on the prelims, Fulton versus Castro.
Wow. Okay, yeah, on BoxRec they have him as the 4th fight from, so
that's better.
That seems
so
like
they have him fighting after Romero?
That's,
I really hope that's how it shakes out. On the fight card, like the publication, he's below that listed under the prelims.
Wow. Yeah, that's just rude if that's true, man.
That's what I was thinking. Well, that's so let's make some picks and get through in reverse order here. So starting with Fulton, I think that's probably an easy pick. I think he's a -800 favorite.
Yeah, coming off the loss to Inoue, he's going to have a lot to prove, and I think he's going to be looking to take care of business out there. Castro's dropped 2 of his last 5, and he's ranked 19 here in BoxRec. It doesn't mean a whole lot. I think the Fulton train is going to get back on the tracks with this one.
You think by stoppage?
No, it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's down. He's lost twice, once by KO, once by split decision. So... he's been around a little bit with some unknown opponents. I don't know. Fulton's on another level, though.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised by a Fulton KO or TKO.
Yeah, tough to call right now, but -800 favorite, not a lot of value there, but probably Fulton, maybe something for a parlay. Next fight, Rolly Romero, the guy who I can never quite peg where he's at, skill, power, anything wise, and him moving up in weight didn't help that equation, versus Manuel Jaime. Rolly Romero, a minus 240 favorite. Jaime plus 190. I don't know. This is, again, I have such a hard time. Like, he gets the win over Barroso, which was total BS.
Oh, yeah.
And he looked fine in that fight. He didn't look bad. He didn't look amazing. And then he gets absolutely destroyed by Pitbull, which now, looking back from Pitbull's last performance, seems really weird because, you know, he was catching dude with clean shots, so that really wobbled Rolly and put Rolly on skates like almost immediately in that fight. And I thought Rolly actually looked solid in that fight. He was working the jab, he was staying on the back foot. You know, his defense looked better than it had in previous fights, but it just didn't matter. So I wonder, is this guy really chinny?
Yeah, I know he struggled with weight. And he made a real public statement in an interview about how he had cut 17 pounds in the last 48 hours.
For that fight?
For that fight.
Why was he cutting so much weight after his... Wasn't that only his second fight at 140?
I think he has trouble staying small between fights. And,
Interesting.
So is this fight scheduled for 140 pounds, super light? Yeah?
That's my understanding.
10-round super light.
And the guy he's fighting, you know, has 16 wins, 11 by KO. So he's going to punch. I mean, we all know Rolly can punch.
Is that 11 by KO or 1 by KO?
11 by KO.
I got 1 on BoxRec. 16.
No, man.
Oh, no, I'm reading it right.
He's got 1 stoppage, but 16 wins, 11 by knockout.
11 by knockout. Okay, I'm reading that now. Oh, and he's coming off a win from another guy named Romero.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Romero fucking smasher.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, and the numbers are pretty close on that, too, right? They said plus 240 for Romero.
Romero's minus 240
That's
favorite.
Right, minus 240.
And Jaime's a plus 190. So I kind of like him as a live dog. I don't know. Rolly's one of those guys that, you know, is the hype real? Obviously, we know he came to boxing late. He's got some skills. He's got some power. But he's clearly beatable, right? It's out there. Stopped twice in his last, 3 fights. The win over Barroso, not a real win. I don't know. I think Jaime. I haven't watched a ton of tape on Jaime, but I think he's a live dog in there at plus 190. If you want to just put $10 on it and have a nice night.
Yeah, dude, that's a great call. I agree with you on that one because you never know. Romero can punch, but he ain't the greatest boxer.
Yeah. Next up, we have Donald Trump versus Caleb Plant. Oh no, sorry, it's Trevor McCumbee. An interesting fight. Trevor McCumbee, I mean, I think you know more about him than me, but a weird pick for Plant. Is this a set him up fight? Is that the plan? Are we just trying to put a highlight reel KO on tape, or is this guy for real?
Man, this guy's got a weird career. He's a journeyman, an undefeated journeyman. Most guys with this kind of record and this kind of time in the sport have quite a few losses on the record, but he's managed to stay undefeated. He has a no contest in there somewhere. But he fought for a long time at light heavyweight. And he only came down from light heavy after a layoff. He took off a couple years. Between 2018, he took a break. At that point, he had got knocked down in that fight against another fella named Felipe Romero. But that was a light heavyweight showdown. And then he takes from 2018 to 2023 off. And
that was like family stuff, right?
In COVID and who knows what.
Right.
You know? I mean, this guy probably is a hardcore anti-vaxxer. He wasn't about to go play. You know, he probably, you know.
This isn't a political podcast, Coach.
I know, right?
And he got
hey, you wear that hat, you're gonna make it political. Yeah. Fucking clown.
True. And he got popped for peds somewhere in there, right? His biggest win, I know, right after he got it taken away.
That's what the no contest is then.
Yeah, no contest was PEDs, which I thought was hilarious because this week Ryan Garcia, who has to work his magic to get his name into every one of our podcast episodes, came out and was like, a lot of people don't know McCumbee. He's going to take care of business. He's going to stop Caleb Plant.
Oh, he hates on Caleb, though.
And I was like, maybe this is just like a drug user pact that they have.
They have a group chat.
Yeah. And they're like, you got to back me up, bro.
Yeah, I'll see you at the clinic next weekend.
Yeah, get our injections.
So, yeah, he come back from this long layoff of however many years that is, 3, 4, 5 years. And came back at a new weight class, and he's been on a winning streak, KO, and a unanimous decision. But he had his first 10-round fight last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this guy, he's been in the game for 13 years as a pro, and he finally had a 10-rounder.
Yeah.
That's really slow moving. So, you know, I don't have the time to dig through every single one of his early fights, but it seems like a guy who just had some connections. He got busy in the sport, and he won a lot, but he wasn't really getting challenged a lot. And, you know, it must have been like the king of the journeyman, the best but he's not even a gatekeeper. He's just the best journeyman going with a great record. And now he's moved down in weight. I think the size, well, that's something that our guy Plant is familiar with. He was in there with a big body, a natural light heavyweight.
Benavidez.
Yeah, and it's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we always talk about on this podcast how activity is important for a boxer. You got to be active, right?
But after that fight, he fights Durrell, knocks him out viciously, right? And now he's coming. You know, wasn't that his last fight?
Well, no, it was Canelo, then Durrell, and then Benavidez.
Is that right? Okay, so that was a year ago then.
Let me check my facts on that. Benavidez was in it was March, April, January, February, March of 2023. So that's quite a long time ago. So not a 2-year layoff, but you know, a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah. Okay, you're right. Yeah, he fights Canelo. I actually looked up the scorecards of that fight because I was curious. Because I know that when Benavidez stopped him, he was up on the scorecards, on 2 of the 3 scorecards. So he was winning the fight. And obviously he just kind of got broken down by the relentless pressure and size of Benavidez in that fight, but he looked good. So I looked up the cards for the Canelo fight, and I was like, I wonder if he was up on the cards in that fight too, and similar thing. But no, he actually was down on all 3 scorecards. I think he only got 2 rounds, but I also thought it was interesting. I want to run that fight back because on all 3 scorecards, they had all the rounds almost exactly the same.
Wow, is that clear?
So rare, yeah. Okay, so yeah, timeline. He loses to Canelo, comes back with the knockout of Durrell, gets back on track, loses again to Benavidez in similar fashion, albeit different on the scorecards. So if you're moving his career, is this kind of a get-right fight where you say, okay, this is a legitimate person on paper because he's got the O on his record. He's gonna, he's a solid boxer. If you watch any tape on him, like his fundamentals are good. He's not gonna look like an idiot in there, but it's someone for Plant to get back on track with.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to want to, he's young enough and he's going to want to get back in another chance to get a title.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to get a Canelo rematch.
Yeah.
That fight was too dominant.
Yeah.
I always thought one of Plant's issues with his style was that if it was a 4 or a 6 or an 8-round fight, it's his, no doubt. He's a really sharp fighter from the first bell. Really smart, really sharp. Doesn't rely on a style like a Tank Davis where he's going to lose a bunch of rounds to try to knock you out.
Mm-hmm.
This guy tries to win the rounds almost like an amateur with the point-based system and the really nice footwork, or an early Mayweather where it's like he doesn't have to land a lot of punches to win the round because he's making you miss so much and he's controlling the tempo and the space so well. I think he's a great boxer in that regard, but where he struggles at this elite level is the long game, the 12 rounds, and so he typically starts really strong, banks the early rounds. And like you saw with Benavidez, he was even winning the fight, but then he just can't get to the finish line. But I don't think this guy McCumbee is strong enough to stop him from getting to the finish line.
What do you think that fade is? Is it focus? Is it conditioning, stamina?
Well, the 2 guys he's lost to are 2 of the biggest punchers and densest dudes he's ever had to fight.
Right.
And you could say the same thing about Canelo. Canelo's knockout streaks stopped when he started fighting guys that were bigger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If Plant was in there with a bunch of guys that were 100, if he could make 154 pounds, he'd be in there smoking dudes.
Right.
He'd be the bigger man. But
Pause.
because, like we said about Inoue a minute ago, he's a smaller man. He's got a size disadvantage. And
Right.
I think over a 12-round fight in this weight class, 168, the weight really plays in the strength and the endurance and the muscling. He's not really a muscly fighter, meaning
Right.
like he's not going to rough you up on the inside. He's not going to Roberto Duran you.
Right.
He's not going to hand trap you and wrestle you.
So
He's
does
going to try
that-
to be Slick Rick all night long. And Slick Rick, it's exhausting, dude.
Right. And so does that play in the favor of Trevor McCumbee, who's coming down in weight from light heavyweight? Maybe he'll be the bigger guy on the night. And
Yeah, no doubt. But I don't think he's got the I don't think he's got the elite level talent, experience, all those, and the intangibles to make it happen. I think I see Plant might even make this dude quit.
That's
what I want to see.
So, and to your point, Benavidez stops Plant in the 12th round. Canelo stops him,
11th?
or sorry, in the Actually, no, in the 12th, Canelo stops him in the 11th, right? 1 round
So
sooner.
close. I mean, the finish line, you can see the fucking finish
It's
line.
brutal.
It's right there.
It's brutal.
So,
Yeah, I look for this fight to be maybe more competitive than people think early, second and third round. Like McCumbee, people are starting to think, oh shit, should I have not bet against, or should I have bet on this guy as the underdog? And then Plant just puts it together and shows that there's levels to this thing. And I see him quitting or getting stopped.
yeah.
You know.
There's an advantage to being a Canelo opponent, even if you lost. You got the money in the bank, so you can live like an elite level fighter. Now this McCumbee, well, he ain't got those kind of fights in his bag. He's probably still just taking a little break from his 9 to 5, so he could go down to Vegas to make this thing happen.
True.
He's not gonna have a full-time staff working for him. You see, Plant's got his own little YouTube channel. I watched a couple of the clips. He's got a full-time massage thing. He's got all these people pampering him left and right. But he's training super hard. He's got Breadman flying out from Philly to train with him and his dad. I mean, everybody at his beck and call.
Yep.
Living like Rocky in Rocky 3, with the robot and everything. So it's like...
Which is what led McCumbee to say, this guy's in silk sheets, right? He doesn't have the passion, the drive for it anymore. Which I thought was a rough... I mean, obviously you're going to try to get in your opponent's head, but of all people, I feel like Caleb Plant is one of the most kind of grounded fighters. And I agree with you. I think it's mostly going to be an advantage for him. Right, he's not going to be mentally soft. He's going to be physically ready.
Sure. Oh man, especially McCumbee. How old is he? He's no spring chicken either. Recovery at this elite level of training and the toll it takes on your body is so important. Especially in a weight cut too. All you're supposed to be doing is training and then laying about.
Yeah.
And being taken care of.
Right.
So if you can't afford to live like that, and you got to train and then go work, or you got to train and then go, take care of your own damn kids instead of having somebody do it for you.
That's what I tell my girlfriend every day. I need to be training and then being pampered.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
I can't be bothered.
No, I don't go to the grocery store.
No.
Okay. I'm a pro boxer.
You're
I
a
lay on the couch.
professional. Exactly.
I
wish
gotta,
they'd understand.
Well,
Shout out Haley.
She'll hear it when she listens to the pod.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, she
doesn't support you.
No, she listens to the pod. I'm saying she already takes care of me, so I'm just complaining because it's good material.
It's great material. Happily married.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up we've got the return of Danny Garcia versus Erislandy Lara, the slick Cuban southpaw fighter. This is a weird fight. How do you see this one playing down? Look into your crystal ball.
Hey, so check this out. We always say that the activity is important. And we also say one of the most valuable things to have in the sport of boxing is experience.
Mm-hmm.
But experience without activity has no value.
No value? Or less value?
Less value.
Okay.
I'm saying, okay, who's a living legend? Sugar Ray Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Go down to his house and talk to him about boxing. He's a wizard.
Right.
But get him in the ring, he can't do it because he hasn't been active. And he's old as hell.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, you haven't been active. You haven't been applying your experience. You'll watch yourself try to do something that you're supposed to do, and you'll be just a little off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I should have blocked the hook like this. I should have slipped the roll like that. I should have thrown my shot here. Your accuracy won't be right. You haven't been actively applying your experience.
Yep.
And that's where I see Danny Garcia failing on the night.
Mm-hmm.
Because your boy from the Cuban style is coming in there, and he's been busy.
Yeah.
And he's been looking great.
Yeah, he has been looking super solid.
So I got to say left hook Danny Garcia. He's probably going to try to bomb him out of there with some big hooks early.
Yeah.
Get a little tired. And, man, I'm surprised he's making a comeback. I thought he was happily retired.
Yeah, so 26 months since his last fight, he wins a majority decision against Jose Benavidez Jr., maybe one of his better wins. Every time he's kind of stepped up, he loses a unanimous decision to Earl Spence, loses a unanimous decision to Sean Porter, loses a split decision to Keith Thurman. I think that was the belt he lost. It just feels like in those big moments, and then you add in over 2 years of layoff, it's going to be a steep hill to climb. They don't have the full line yet, but the money line, Lara's a minus 230 favorite, so that's definitely how Vegas is seeing it. Danny Garcia plus 180. We'll when we go to make our picks, we'll look deeper into the line, but I'm leaning towards like a Lara points decision.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garcia is always going to be dangerous enough and probably sound enough to not get KO'd out of there.
Yeah, never been stopped. 3 losses, no stoppages.
Tough kid for sure. One of the best of that era, but I'm saying that era, not this era.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, no disrespect, but I don't know, I don't know why he's coming back.
How old is Danny Garcia. Does he give me hope for my comeback? 1988. He's what almost to the day a year older than me.
Oh wow.
Or a year younger than me.
So
rather.
he's not that old.
Yeah, he's 36.
Okay, that's not too bad. I thought he was older than that.
And Laura's older.
Yeah, he's 42.
Laura's 41.
Yeah, 41. I'm going with the old guy on this one.
Yeah, I mean in Laura's last fight against Zarafa, I mean he got him out of there in 2 rounds. It was quick. He looked great. And I remember at the time we were breaking down that fight and we were like taking Laura, but saying, at some point, is this train going to stop? But I mean, you look at his past fights, KO, TKO, KO, unanimous decision, KO. Like he's taking care of business.
And he'll always be able to say that he beat Canelo.
Yeah.
A lot of people think he did.
Yeah.
And, it's cool that Canelo's putting on 2 of his former opponents on this undercard.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really stacking it up for us. And I appreciate that. This should be entertaining and should go the distance. But I do predict that the older fella is going to take care of business. He's going to use his feet, he's going to use his head, and he's not going to get hooked.
Yep.
Which is Garcia's best punch. And he's going to look for it. He's going to try to set it up. But he's always been a little flat-footed, and that's just easy work for a Cuban boxer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to use a lot of that movement and just frustrate him. If I'm a boxer and my best punch is the left hook, would I rather fight an orthodox fighter or a southpaw fighter?
Man, Danny just throws that thing like this doesn't even look. It's a no-look hook.
Mm-hmm.
He's just ducks his head and just wings that thing. He knocked out, or didn't knock him out, but he scored a big knockdown on Amir Khan. It hit him in the neck, like below the jawline, and just like looks so devastating. But that's a good question. I think you have to consider the pros and cons of that. Sure, a southpaw is going to be a little more open for the hook because they're busy using that right hand for offense as their jab.
Right.
But if they know how to box, they're going to be a little bit further away from you. So you're going to have to work a little harder to get your feet in position to throw that hook.
Mm-hmm.
In the open stance battle, you're going to have to hand fight your way over to the hook, maybe even do a leaping lead hook to get it in there. Against an orthodox fighter, you're going to settle in a little closer. And while they might have more natural defense to keep that right hand glued in, they're going to be easier to get to with your feet. So a flat-footed fighter like our boy Garcia, I'd say orthodox.
Orthodox, because you want to be able to kind of scooch in closer.
Yeah, just throw like a 1-2-3.
feet.
It's going to be right there. You throw a 1-2-3 against a southpaw without your feet, you're never going to get near him with the hook.
Yeah.
You got to double jab, step in with the cross, and then turn the hook over.
One thing I always think about with that matchup is the orthodox fighter's rear hand, the right hand, which is what you're looking to drop in order to land your left hook, is their discipline in terms of returning it after they throw the 2, but also how fast they're going to bring it back. And obviously that's a weakness in a lot of people, whereas the jab, I mean, maybe you have a real low kind of jab. Maybe that's an advantage if you're constantly trying to rely on the shoulder roll or something and you're a southpaw fighter. But in general, trying to land that lead hook over the top of a southpaw jab that's really busy and working seems like it's going to be tough. And Laura is definitely in that latter camp of the jab is going to be up, it's going to be educated, and it's going to be out there in front, kind of controlling that space all night.
Yeah, Garcia struggled with Errol Spence's southpaw jab. He banged his eye up so bad, his left eye, because he's coming forward with that left eye, and he kept walking into that right jab from Spence. And his eye was pretty banged up by the end of the fight, and we had him blinded to his hook. So now the hooker's blind to the other guy's hook.
Right.
So,
and now you're hooking with a hooker.
Oh, that's not a good look.
All right, well, that's, you get me excited about this card. I was really I was hating on this fight, and I'm going to hate on it now that we moved to Canelo Berlanga.
Well, we can hate on the price tag.
Yeah, I mean, that's
$80.
Let's just be honest, that's not going to happen.
Out of town.
Yeah, Canelo needs to patch it up with Turkey, so I'm into this 1999 situation. But the undercard is good. These are good fights.
They really stacked it up nice. This will be a lot of entertaining fights.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually going to be in Clarksdale, Mississippi this upcoming weekend, so I'm going to miss this, but I'll probably get home. We're going to see some blues music, and probably get home at like 1 a.m. and then run the whole card, because I'm a masochist.
That's cool. Yeah, I just watched on my Floyd retrospective, I watched a fight of his in Biloxi. I actually lived in Mississippi for a while. So
Really?
that's why I got that blues in me, baby.
Yeah, you do. I never take that away from you.
Yeah,
You ever go to Clarksdale?
No, I lived on the Gulf, and I was pretty poor. We didn't go anywhere except for where I lived in near Biloxi. I lived in a couple little towns over there, Gulfport and Gaucher, right on the beach.
Man, I love the South. Every time I go there, just have a great time. Amazing food, amazing music, good vibe. I feel like my heart rate like slows down the second I touch down there. You know, people just like have a slower, more deliberate pace about them.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a very cool place to live. Beautiful too. And man, so where are you gonna watch the fights at? Just chilling at the hotel or something?
Probably, yeah. I got an Airbnb and probably just come back and run it back.
I'll be out of town too. I'll be in Klamath Falls, Oregon.
Oh man, the Paris of the West.
Deep in the clam.
Yeah, deep in the clam. Jesus, wow, we're good. This podcast got an NC-17 rating all of a sudden. Well, let's talk about the main event. Canelo Alvarez returns with the chosen sheep being led to the slaughter, Edgar Berlanga. Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Stark contrast in the build-up to this fight from the last fight where Canelo fights Jaime Munguia, a fellow countryman, Mexican, said he would never fight another Mexican fighter, didn't want to, but picks Munguia, kind of like giving him the golden lottery ticket. A lot of people think he carried him through that fight, dropped him, but refused to stop him. I don't know about that, but definitely highly respectful. Tough to, you're watching that build-up, like, how is this guy even going to get up mentally for this fight? This fight, exact opposite. Berlanga is decked out in every diamond that's been dug out of the earth, talking all his shit, hating on Canelo, and Canelo's pantomiming, mocking him, all sorts of stuff.
Crazy, man. Yeah, I'm getting big like Scarface vibes off of this whole thing. Like too much silk and diamonds and cocaine.
Yeah,
these guys are out of control. But yeah, Berlanga the biter, man. I wonder if he's going to try to take a nibble on old Canelo.
That might be his best shot. So I guess that's the question leading up to this fight. The narrative is, basically the narrative point blank is Canelo won't fight Benavidez. He wants to do what he wants to do at this stage in his career. Maybe he's earned it, maybe he hasn't. But Berlanga is a guy that will sell the fight, which he's doing perfectly, but who is absolutely no risk to Canelo. And Berlanga, again, got the lottery ticket. He's stepping up. He's a big puncher. One of the longest, maybe the longest first-round KO streak in boxing. That's how he built his career, but has never leveled up his competition and is absolutely not ready for a jump up like this. But, of course, you're going to take it, and it's easy work for Canelo. Is that how you see it, or is there any mismatch in that narrative?
I think you nailed it, man. That's perfect. I think this guy's ego is the only thing valuable in his boxing bag of tricks. He's a puncher, sure, but he's not a boxer. Hold still and let him hit you, it's going to hurt. But Canelo doesn't hold still and let you hit him. He's going to counter him. He's going to be sharp with it. And this guy, he despite his bravado and all his attempts to build that up, I think he's going to have a little hard time underneath the lights, realizing that he's the dance partner in somebody else's party. He's not the star of the show, man. This is the Canelo show, and no matter how hard you try, you can't punch your way out of being the less experienced boxer. So he's gonna get some experience, and I think he's gonna get 12 rounds of it. Yeah, I predicted another Canelo trending like he does lately, unanimous decision victory.
For Canelo. So you don't think Canelo gets back on track with a stoppage here?
I think I'll give the kid another check mark in the valuable department. He's a big body dude. He's a big super middleweight.
Yep.
Impressively large for the division. So I don't think that Canelo is going to be able to put him down and out. Okay. Especially because Canelo hasn't been putting nobody down and out. Weight goes with power. Canelo was devastating when he was in the lower weight classes, down at 54, 60. But at 68, in this time in his career, his power isn't really, look at his highlight reels. Ain't nobody he's been fighting recently,
Yeah, his last stoppage was Caleb Plant.
And that wasn't even like what I call he crumbled him, sure, but that was more an accumulation thing.
Yeah.
Plant got rocked for sure, but he was never just not what he did to James Kirkland or Amir Khan. Yeah, or a handful of other
Billy
fighters.
Joe Saunders.
Yeah, oof. Now that was at 168. That was probably his most recent KO that was impressive. That was a nice one. But that was a face smashing uppercut. Yeah,
he still hasn't boxed since. And he was on a more of a tear back then. But you're right. This is a tough fight to call. If you're going Canelo all the way, and that's how you see the fight. Sorry to disappoint you, Fat Joe. I saw this hilarious FaceTime video. Did you see that between Fat Joe, Puerto Rican rapper, with talking to Berlanga, and he's like, they don't know us, like everyone, everyone doesn't see it. They don't understand what's about to happen, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there going, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's boxing. Anything could happen, 100%. You got a big puncher in there. He's absolutely dangerous. And the fight is, any fight is exciting when you have that mix, but it's easy to psych yourself out and not come back to earth and realize it's a competitive sport that requires skill, and you're going to see that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Fat Joe, he was talking about ring walking with Tito Ortiz, not Tito Ortiz, Tito Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about the UFC all of a sudden. Sorry, fans. That ain't boxing.
Who's thinking about the UFC is Oscar De La Hoya, who said, "No, I won't be at that fight. I'll be over at the Sphere watching UFC that night." It's like,
Oh, wow.
damn,
So petty, man.
hate runs deep with this guy.
I know, he just hates Canelo so much.
Well, I'm going to deviate here, and I'm going to say Canelo gets a stoppage. I think that pick depends on the type of fight that Berlanga fights. So Jermell Charlo, right, when he was in there, that looked like a stoppage for Canelo, except Charlo didn't try to win the fight. He literally tried to survive. And I think anybody who's athletic with decent enough boxing skill can probably go 12 rounds with Canelo right now if they're literally on the bike the whole time. You know what I mean? And that's how he looked.
wasn't. Munguia was right there with him.
Munguia was right there with him, but I kind of give some credence to the narrative that he carried him, that he didn't want to stop him.
Wow, I'd have to rewatch that with a conspiracy theory hat on to believe that.
Run it back and see what you think, listeners. But there was no so even if he didn't do it consciously, like, I'm not gonna knock this guy out, he wasn't pissed. He didn't have that extra, that third gear to drop into. And this fight, I think he does. I think he's like, this is bullshit. People don't think I'm going to stop this guy. This guy's not a good boxer. Doesn't have the fundamentals. Does not deserve to be in this ring with me.
Talking a lot of shit.
Maybe
That's what's been missing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what John Ryder didn't do to him. That's maybe what Munguia didn't do to him. Plant did talk a lot of shit, and they got a little pushy shovey.
Mm-hmm.
And he did stop him. Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs a little hate in his heart to wake up and get up and want to hurt the man.
I think that makes sense. And I think, I won't take anything away from John Ryder. I think Canelo did everything right in that fight, absolutely dominated. I think John Ryder was just a tank. I don't know that we know that same information about Berlanga.
Will Berlanga continue with a broken nose? Because John Ryder did, breathing through his mouth with blood running down the back of his throat for 6 or 7 rounds.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a warrior right there.
Exactly. I don't see. I could be totally wrong, but we don't know that information about Berlanga, right? He hasn't faced that adversity. Probably the most adversity he faced was Jason Quigley, who he boxed to a unanimous decision victory, but he couldn't. He looked exposed in terms of his skill set. Fighting Quigley, couldn't cut the ring off, couldn't, I thought Quigley won a lot more of the rounds, personally. I thought it maybe more of a split decision, but I think that we don't know that level of him, but that level of toughness. But if he brings the fight to Canelo and he truly believes, dude, the only way I'm going to win this fight is if I land some crazy bomb right hand, so here I go, then Canelo stops him. Sixth or seventh round, 8th round.
If he opens up and tries, he'll create openings for the counterpuncher to sneak his shots in there and do his business. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It takes 2 to tango, right? If this guy's on the back foot, jabbing and moving and trying to survive, he might.
Yep.
So I don't mind that pick, man. I think that's a pretty smart way to look at it because, whoever shows up that night, and if he's got all this, if he really believes what he's saying and it's not all an act, then he's going to try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And his best luck is early and explosive.
Yep. But I will say, looking at the line, right, Canelo, minus 1,800 favorite. So first of all, boxing world, anytime you have a main event on a fight with a minus 1,000 or above favorite, don't buy that fight. Tell the promoter, kick rocks. This is bullshit. You got a one-sided, main event. No, make more competitive fights, period. So there's no value there. Don't bet that. Over under 8.5 rounds. I don't know. That's a tricky one. That gets back to the stoppage, no stoppage. Canelo Alvarez by KO, TKO, minus 290. So people think the stoppage is coming. What I just said. Looking at the line, I like your pick more. I think it's smarter. Plus 260, Canelo by decision. Canelo's not knocking people out anymore.
Yeah, and like I said, this is a big dude, and he might not have been tested at the elite level, but, he's been boxing. He's been getting hit. He's not just going to get knocked out.
Yeah. I would say my gut tells me stoppage, but only by a hair over the decision. And given that the line is not close at all, plus 290 on the decision, maybe take the decision. It's interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll kind of keep an eye on fight week, and we'll make our official picks on Instagram before the fight. And we'll see where we slide on this one. But it's definitely interesting enough to want to watch, but not to want to pay for.
No. $20? Absolutely.
I
All
got
day.
$20 in easy work.
Sorry, Canelo.
Fucking $80 for
What's
80 Berlanga bucks? Dude?
Yeah.
I need a rebate on that shit.
what? Okay, so what? Let's say Canelo wins by whatever method, right? What comes next for Canelo? Does he fight Bivol? If Bivol gets through Beterbiev, or either way, try to avenge that loss and then hang him up? Is there anybody left at 168 for him to fight?
There's just a new crop of guys like this Berlanga or Ian Billy from Canada.
Yeah.
Or, or a rematch. I mean, has he aside from his Triple G trilogy, which kind of fizzled out, unfortunately, the first two fights were completely separate from the third.
Mm-hmm.
But, he hasn't really had a consistent guy in that weight class. I feel like he might pull a diva retirement and just be out for a little while.
I could see that.
I think it'd be nice of him to actually do that. And didn't he already get stripped of one of the belts?
Yeah, he did. I believe the IBF belt and Billy and Skull are going to fight for that belt.
So the belts are lost already. You're not in.
But
no
then
longer
he'd be the
undisputed.
mandatory. So maybe that's the next fight. You let him Billy and Skull fight, and then whoever wins, you take
And
that
you-
fight. At that point, you're basically just saying, listen, I'm confident I'm going to beat all the fighters that are remaining at 168, and I'm getting paid X number of million per fight. So I might as well just kind of keep doing that for another couple of years until people are sick of it or I'm too old or whatever.
Well, knowing the way his career has gone, here's my prediction: some other nonsense fight, like the other Charlo or something. Like, that's probably what we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Some other nonsense fight. I don't expect him to do a whole lot. He's definitely just talk about Crawford. I don't see that happening. It's another for him. It's like it's his party. He can do what he wants to do with whoever he wants to do. Invite whoever he wants, and he's not going to invite anybody the party doesn't want to play with.
I think he should fight Crawford and Tank at the same time.
Oh, and Usyk should be the referee who surprise jumps in on the fight.
Right.
It makes it a tag team battle.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
You listening, Eddie Hearn?
I like, yeah, match room versus, yeah, it's still a 5-on-1. I'm talking at the same time in the ring,
Fucking
2-on-1.
Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Rage in the
Royal
cage,
Rumble.
dude. Lock
I would
him in there.
pay $89.99 for that,
Yeah, dude.
just because it would be such a debacle.
I'd be like,
Disaster.
I would want to get in on it. Put me in there.
Put me in there. I'll join.
Just run between the Usyk's legs. And
Yep.
fucking kick people.
All right, if it was you, me, Tank,
Yeah, because that dude's definitely on our team.
Tank,
He's got to be on our team.
he's on our team.
Yeah,
You,
fool ain't punching me.
yeah, yeah, you. Well, if it's you, me, Tank, and who else is versus Usyk and Canelo? Oh, and Crawford. And Crawford's on our team.
Oh, yeah.
How's that go down?
Damn.
We swarm them.
We just swarm him.
We swarm them.
Pin him down.
It's like
like a noogie time.
you know that question, like how many 4-year-olds could you fight?
Yeah.
Like you're locked in a room. How many could you go through?
Dude.
Think about it. We got time. It's a podcast.
I have a kid, and for a while he was 4.
Okay.
And he was kind of a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
He was squirrely. He was quick.
No weapons, hand-to-hand combat.
I mean, we talk about child abuse on
And
the air now.
they are after you. Like they are doing everything within their power to end your life.
I'd just be kicking, dude.
Yeah.
I'd be doing some capoeira, spin, fucking
For how long?
breakdance.
How
kicks.
many?
As long as my cardio could hold up. So I got about 30 minutes in me.
Okay.
Non-stop battle.
Non-stop battling, kicking 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 30 and you're getting one every 5 seconds?
Sure.
Okay.
Eventually they would. Well, I mean, they're gonna just run out. They just suffocate you with the mass of bodies.
Right. But okay. So 12 a minute and you got 30 minutes. So you're going through 364-year-olds.
That sounds like
That's a lot.
I don't want to talk about
You're,
this anymore.
yeah, you're a bad person, man. I would have said 0 because I love kids, but that's the difference between
Yeah.
you and me. Yeah.
Well, I only beat my own child. I don't know who these other kids are. I don't know.
Right.
I'm
That's
not
true.
responsible for their.
yeah, Henry's
upbringing.
tough.
That's why he's so damn tough.
Yeah, he counts for he's tough. All right, well, we've run out of boxing things to talk about, but that was important information to get to.
Yeah, dude. Well, this will be an exciting weekend, man. We'll both be out of town, but we'll get back together next week and we'll talk about it. And then what's coming up? We got the following weekend. We're gonna make a soft predictions for Joshua versus Dubois.
Joshua Dubois coming back. Look for our official picks for these fights. You know, these are all just kind of our preliminary thoughts. We like to do those before the lines really come out so that we're not influenced, and we just kind of get the strategy in place of how we see, you know, the fights panning out. But once we see the lines and stuff, we'll have specific picks on our Instagram. But yeah, next week Munguia comes back on a Friday fight, and then a Joshua Dubois the next night or the next morning, which is awesome. And then, you know, all kind of building up to October 12th. You know, ball fights in between. That's exciting. But Bivol, Beterbiev, Stevenson coming back, then Zoo, then Catterall, Prograis, Taylor Serrano 2, Usyk Fury 2, and Tyson and Paul, of course. It's just we're going to run through the rest of the year. It's going to be great.
Wow. So much fun. So much to look forward to. We're capping off the year with the heavyweight rematch, which now is no longer undisputed. They took one of those belts off him.
Yeah, you're right. Pretty, you know, kind of sad for Fury. I mean, he can talk all he wants. He doesn't care about the belts, but it's like, even if he wins, it's not get back.
No, the luster is gone. And it's so, I mean, what a fight that was. I don't know if I'm ready for that again. Well, we got a lot to get to.
But a lot of people saying Fury's going to win this fight. I mean, same people that thought he was going to win the first fight, but that he's going to put it together. And, you know, I don't know. Well, I'm excited to get into that one. But that's also a fight. It's one of the only fights on the calendar I'm almost not looking forward to, because it's like I'm watching with my eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I need to know what happens, but it's like I have to watch it. But it's gonna hurt me a little bit if Usyk loses.
Yeah,
Goddamn
like I've been looking forward.
Hero.
Yeah, like Bivol Beterbiev, I've been looking forward to that fight for a long time. I've been rocking with Beterbiev. I think it's his fight to lose. But if Bivol won, I wouldn't be upset. Oh, okay. He won. Well, it's a great. I'm interested to see how he does it.
Yeah, that's going to be a great matchup. Boxer versus the puncher.
But Fury, I need to lose. I don't know where that comes. I'm going to ask my therapist why that is. But, you know, it just really feels like good versus evil to me. Maybe just because it's humbleness versus just absolute insane cockiness.
So, rewatching Floyd's career, I'm on fight 12 or 13 now. He's been getting booed since 1997, dude. Like he had,
Same.
We were like 10 years old.
Yeah. So when I dropped my first single, it was trash.
Boo. Yeah. Because he was cocky in the ring, he was showboating, sticking his tongue out, real outspoken. But man, he'd get in there and take care of business. And you can see how he built this persona of pay to hate me.
Yeah.
You know, and
100%.
became his brand. Fury, he didn't start his career like that. But there is something about somebody who's annoying. You know, you're fucking annoying, dude. Like, I want to see you lose.
And I think part of that, though, is like, I never wanted to see Floyd lose. I never cared, because Floyd backed it all up. Floyd was like, I'm pretty boy, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but he beat everybody. Fury, what drives me nuts is he's so unself-aware. And if I had one quality I would not want to be, it would be unself-aware. You're leaving a room and everybody's like, dude, what's up with that guy? He's XYZ. And you have no clue that you're coming across that way.
Yeah, I think I was talking at the gym this morning about Berlanga. I had a client asking me what I thought about it. And this guy's from New York, the client of mine. And he's like, yeah, he's got that whole thing going with his, Brooklyn or whatever. And his whole crew is like that. And like the attitude. And I'm like, is that a real, like every day, does he have to remind himself to act that way when he wakes up? No, like that's who he's been since he was like, that's what the voices he heard as a child. This is how a man speaks. This is how a man behaves. And this is, so you are raised by your environment. You got this guy Fury. Well, I think a lot of his stuff is clearly an act. And like his dad has got this thing, but his dad's thing looks like an act too. He tears his shirt off and acts like a fucking idiot. I think when they look in the mirror, they have to remind themselves, oh, I have to put on this act. And that's why he had his mental health problems. He had his problems with after he won his title the first time and went off the rails and lost his mind, because he wasn't an authentic individual. And his authenticity was, is something that, we respect in people. An authentic person, even a Floyd, he's authentically an asshole, but he's also a great boxer, and he believes in himself. for real, to a point where you're like, holy shit, this is crazy, the levels of self-belief you have. With Fury, it looks like a guy's constantly doing a little act in the mirror before he goes out and hits the cameras. You're like, I don't think you believe this, man.
Damn.
You know? And that's what makes people doubt him and makes people want to see him lose because he ain't real.
Coach is cutting deep today. That hurts.
Cutting these calories, man. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
Getting deliriously angry.
Yeah, plus Tommy cheated on his wife and got left. Y'all family full of suckers.
And
Yeah.
and plus you got like a Netflix special and shit. That stuff's annoying too, you know. It's like,
No, facts. I don't know. I can't tell if he believes or not. You talk about Edgar Berlanga and like the voices in his community. For Fury, it's the voices in his head, right? But either way, it's just so full of shit. It's like, I'm the greatest of all time. I'm like, dude, you haven't even fought the greatest people in your weight class fighting right now.
yeah.
How are you the greatest of all time?
You know what always shocks people? How old Fury is. Because not only is he just kind of bizarre looking and humongous, but he talks like he's already done it all.
Right.
Like he must have fought Muhammad Ali or something. This guy's got to be, you know, like this guy's must have been around. No, he's a young guy. He's 32 years
so
old.
you think it's shocking how young he is?
How young he is.
I thought you were going to say it's shocking how old he is.
No,
because people think like, oh, this young up-and-comer is so cocky talking about all the stuff he's going to accomplish.
He acts like he already did it all. But
Right.
you didn't fight Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now, it's like Joshua, Dubois, Zhang. I mean, you can kind of throw Bacoli in that mix, Parker. Like, there's all these heavyweights out there right now. And he's a big dude. He could get focused, get strong, fight 3 times a year, and clean out the heavyweight division. And you'd be like, oh, okay. Wow, he's undisputed at heavyweight. He beat everybody around. He beat Klitschko. He's the lineal champ. Like, that's it. But it's like right now, he's basically got the same resume as Anthony Joshua, except he didn't get beat. Once he gets beat by Usyk again, he'll have the same resume, except he didn't get stopped by
Ruiz?
Ruiz, who's
Yeah.
another guy that he didn't fight.
Yeah, I mean, you got to respect the guys. He's had his moments. When he got up off the canvas with the long count in the first fight with Deontay Wilder, wow, what a moment. I mean, he definitely won us all over in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way he came back and handled business in their trilogy. But that was his best work he's ever done in his career.
That and Klitschko. That's it. It
Yeah,
all hangs on those.
Yeah, and that was a diminished Klitschko, and that was a very small and
Don't say frail.
frail-legged.
No, because Wilder's another flawed heavyweight. Where I mean, he's one of my favorite heavyweights ever. I love
Is there a
watching him
complete
fight.
heavyweight though? Who is a complete heavyweight without flaws?
Anthony Joshua. Yeah. But where I say the flaw is not with him as a fighter, it's with his resume. We were never 100% sure how good Wilder really was, right? I mean, he's pretty good. Like, his right hand took him really
could
far.
punch. He could really punch.
Ortiz, and, he had good wins. But it's not like he cleaned out the top of the division either. If Wilder started going around as someone I like and saying he was the best of all time, I'd say, no, you weren't. You didn't fight Anthony Joshua. You didn't fight the top dudes. So it's like a dude who's trying to make a case for the top fights another dude who's trying to make a case for the top. Okay, but that's not really how that works. You have to beat a known top commodity or beat everybody trying to be at the top to be at the top.
Yeah, and actions always speak louder than words, but when you're speaking so damn much, then there's no action. So
Right.
we'll see who shows up because I think he can win the fight with Usyk. I think if they fought 100 times, it'd probably be a 70-30, advantage for Fury just based on his size and whatever. But we'll see who shows up that night. We got to talk nice about Wilder because you're going down south. Mississippi's next to Alabama.
Dude, Wilder, come holler at me. One of my favorites. I always back you up on this show.
Yeah, that's
You
facts, actually. He's one of your biggest fans.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love Wilder. But minimum Fury, absolute bare minimum to be the best, to call himself, quote unquote, the best of his generation. He has to beat Usyk in this fight, maybe even again, but at least in this fight in convincing fashion, if not again. And then he's got to beat Joshua. Bare minimum.
What a run that would be, though.
That'd be good. I'd say that dude's pretty good if he did that. I don't know about best of this generation, but might have been. But easily might have been.
Yeah, well, maybe what he's trying to do is manifest his destiny by speaking his words into truth and then making it happen. So.
And then going crazy and retiring and not fighting. And I respect his path. It's a really solid journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's enough out of us today.
That's all I got for you today, folks.
We'll be back next week, break it down, talk about all the good fights coming up. Until then, I'm Dust.
I'm Coach.
And that's boxing.